Hello, this is the RPG Pundit, the final boss in internet shitlords, and I'm here today to point out something very interesting that is a topic that some people might have to worry about, because if you ever produce anything, if you produce any product in the OSR or the ttrpg hobby, or you have a blog or a YouTube, there's a chance that this could happen to you, that someone could try to cancel you. Sometimes even if you just send a particular Twitter or post somewhere on Facebook something the slightest bit unacceptable to certain factions, the wokists, you could find yourself canceled. And someone who's been at this point targeted by endless cancellation campaigns, none of which have done a damn thing to me, I wanted to explain what you should do in the case that you get canceled. And the latest example of this is this video that Potato John Battle came out with, that was trying to attack Taylor Lane. I've mentioned Taylor already in my previous videos. As you know, Taylor is an LGBT game designer who committed the cardinal sin from the point of view of the SJWs of trying to communicate and talk and interact with people from the regular OSR instead of just the woke indie OSR. They also apparently made the cardinal sin of succeeding at this and starting to get more followers than some of the top level wokeists in that woke OSR movement. So that didn't sit well with these people, and they decided to start to squash Taylor down. And Taylor came over to start, interacting even more with the regular OSR. And found that in the regular OSR, instead of trying to squash them down, people that Taylor ran into were uplifting them, right, and helping them out, and promoting their products and asking them questions and interacting in really positive ways, and that there wasn't this mentality of top-down control or of quid pro quo or anything. And so they were happy there, and that was unacceptable to Potato John. So Potato John Battle, when he did this hour-long video where he talked about me, and he talked about Grim Jim, and he talked about Venger, who Taylor has, I don't think, ever had exchanged more than one word with. Grim Jim also, for that matter. Talked about Dolly Pop, who has interacted with Taylor. And then talked about Varg Vikernes and compared all of us, implied that all of us were on the same side as Varg Vikernes, which is silly because Potato John is on the same side as Varg Vikernes, right? Potato John is one of the people that believes in race essentialism, which is what Varg believes in. So yeah, so he tried to do this, not to attack me so much, but obviously it was part of it, but to attack Taylor. And Taylor was a little bit freaked out because Taylor had never been the target of this kind of cancellation campaign before. The view that Potato John, the video rather that Potato John did got a lot of views. It had a lot of success for within the repeated community. It's probably, given that Taylor has now admitted that these guys go on Discord and tell people, you must retweet this, you must retweet that, right? So that they coordinate like they're a military campaign, right? Or like a pledge drive where they're doing targeted efforts at retweeting to make it look like something, AstroTurf, to make it look like something has a swell of popularity when actually it doesn't, right? So there's probably people multiple viewing it and stuff like that anyways. But it was fairly big, and Taylor was concerned, and then very quickly discovered, I said to Taylor, keep calm, don't worry, you know what you need to do right now? Promote the hell out of your stuff. And Taylor said, well, how will that help? I said, just trust me, promote the hell out of your stuff. And so Taylor did that, and pretty quickly suddenly realized that, yeah, there wasn't any reason to be worried, because suddenly Taylor had gotten a whole bunch of new followers, and their bundle, they were doing this bundle of all their RPG products which they were hoping to get a certain amount of, got like almost double the amount raised for it. So the huge outpouring of support, right? And people were retweeting stuff and sharing stuff, and I got more views and I got more sales, and that's like the wonderful thing about this, right? Is that unlike the SJWs who have this like fear of trying to stay in control because they think that it's a zero-sum game, and that if somebody like Taylor is more successful, then somebody like Potato John is going to lose influence, and then they're going to be less important, In the OSR, we don't care, right? So we will retweet someone. When I retweeted Taylor Lane and said to people, buy Taylor Lane stuff, people bought Taylor Lane stuff, and they also bought my stuff. So like in the 24 hours after this Potato John Battles video came out, it was actually like a huge boost in my sales, right? During that time, I hadn't put out a video, and yet it was the same kind of boost that I get when I put out a video. So people were, thanks to this campaign against me, buying my books just to spite the potato, which is excellent, right? So my advice to you, right, if you get canceled, especially nowadays, because there was once upon a time a situation where the SJWs had this undue level of influence because they've been doing this game of trying to manipulate the facts, manipulate the sales, manipulate the retweets, manipulate the rankings, all of those sorts of things through coordinated action that make them look bigger and more powerful and more influential and more supported than they are. So there was once upon a time where someone said, well, this person must be banned, must be canceled, and then you actually will get banned and canceled, right? Nowadays, at least in the RPG hobby, that is extremely unlikely, right? So the thing you want to do first and foremost is double check your outside life, because some of these people, depending on how badly they want to cancel you, will come after you, right? Potato John doxed me, and people do that very often, to the point where I don't care anymore, because luckily I'm basically immune, right? They can't get my job, my finances, my family, anything like that. They can't, get people to turn on me because I'm transparent about these things. So it's not a problem that I have to worry about, right? And also because they're idiots, right? So that means that I'm secure. Now, if you're working for a company that has bought into the woke ideology, at least as a party line, or your immediate manager is someone that has pictures of AOC up in their office, then you could have a problem, right? So you have to have certain contingencies in mind, right? But for the most part, what they're going to try to do is they might try to get you banned, right, from Facebook. Facebook is apparently very easy to get banned from. I don't know. I've never been banned from Facebook, but it's apparently easy to do. So they might be able to do that. Okay, well, that's bad, but it's also not the end of the world, right? There's all kinds of alternative media now. A lot of what's going on in the OSR is happening now on Mewe, right? Also, there is growing opportunities. I mean, Getter has not yet really blown up with RPG content, but it's had a big boost ever since Rogan went over to Getter, right? So there is some RPG content now, whereas there didn't used to be any. And, there's YouTube, but let's say somehow if they cancel you on YouTube, that's tough. That's very unlikely to happen just like that, right? So, assuming you're not an actual real life Bart McKearns type, and if you are, then, well, tough, right? I don't give a shit at this point. But if you're not, then it's unlikely that that'll happen. But let's say it does, right? You still have alternate methods that are emerging there too, right? So you've got BitChute and Odyssey and Rumble. Rumble's apparently very good, though I haven't actually tried that one yet. But for example, my channel is already running concurrently on Odyssey and BitChute. So any video that comes up here is up there. So if you're a content creator, you want to do something like that to be able to preserve that continuity. And then after that, you just channel your efforts to getting people to watch videos there. It's not hard. You could get demonetized on YouTube, right? Well, guess what? If monetization is what you're depending on, like YouTube monetization, that's what are you doing, man? Right? Like, YouTube monetization does not matter very much to me. I mean, I am monetized, but the money is very low unless you have like hundreds of thousands of subscribers and views, right? Never mind subscribers, 100,000 views, because it doesn't matter if you could have 1 million subscribers. If you're getting like 200 views a video, it's not going to help, right? But I get a lot of subscribers for a lot of views for the amount of subscribers I have on my videos, right? They do better than the average signal to noise ratio as far as subscribers actually watching, right? But it's not enough that it makes any real difference to me, right? So what you've got to be looking at is using video as marketing, right? As marketing for your ideas, as marketing for your other projects, as marketing for your products, fundamentally, though, if you get canceled, don't do a thing, right? Like, the first and absolute thing you must never, ever do, of course, is apologize, right? You don't go and just try to turn around and say, oh, no, I'm sorry, I was wrong, because that's just like blood in the water for these people. They will just end up tearing you to pieces and you'll cease to exist, right? But also, don't freak out and immediately go on the offensive, right? Like, you are going to want to go on the offensive at some points, but you got to look at what it is. Like, what exact kind of cancellation are we talking about? Because if you're talking about a person that has like under 1,000 followers on Twitter who made a mean tweet about you, and that's the cancellation. It's like said, like, well, maybe they said, the RPGPundit should be banned from Twitter, right? And it's like some person with 500 followers and just take a second there, look at that, right? Maybe they do like an epic thread, right? Like, they do 50 threads explaining in detail why the RPGPundit should be banned from Twitter, right? And if you look at that, though, and you see that there's no likes, there's maybe there's 1 or 2 likes, there's no retweets, there's no responses, right? That means that person has no reach whatsoever, so don't worry about it, right? So pay attention to what exactly is happening, right? But even the biggest people, like what this last week's incident proved with Potato John Battle's video, is that even people with big reach, like Potato John, big reach within the SJWs, because the SJWs have become so incestuous, so absolutely ghettoized in their own little ghetto because they've blocked everybody else, nobody gives a shit what they do. So his video was extremely successful among people who are never going to buy my products. And it's the same thing in most cases with most cancellation efforts these days, because only people who are already pro-censorship are going to support that censorship move. And if you're watching me, if you're a fan of mine, you're probably the pro-censorship crowd is not your audience anyways. They're not going to matter. Whereas the anti-censorship minded people will, right? So don't worry about there being attention to those efforts to censor you either, or to cancel you. On the contrary, you want to make sure that the right people see that, right? And see that how absurd they are. And at that point, you might need to make some responses, right? But those responses, you should think carefully what you want them to be. Usually, the best thing to do is to just point out the parts that are ridiculous and absurd, because that's usually all of them. All of the parts that they do now are ridiculous and absurd, right? There wasn't a single serious statement made about me by Potato John in his video, or about Taylor, or about Grimjin. Like these people are completely... they've invented stories out of thin air. They've created this fake narrative. You look at even when like Potato John would flash these 12 microsecond long screenshots of like 15 tweets all there together. If you freeze that frame and look at it, none of those tweets say anything, right? There's nothing offensive, right? That they're able to actually point out. And then there's stuff that he literally posts the screenshot of a blog entry, and he misses, half the stuff when he's talking about it. So it sounds completely out of context, But anyways, the point is that all of that stuff is not going to be dangerous to you, but on the contrary, if you just ridiculize the SJWs, and at the same time, draw attention to bringing together the community, right? The OSR hobby, right? The real OSR, the inglorious OSR, right? One thing that has come out of, like the one thing that Potato John accomplished in all of this is that he made me richer, he made me have more followers, He made Taylor Lane richer. He made Taylor Lane have more followers. Dolly Pop has more followers. I don't know about Grimm or about Venger, but the three of us did very well off this, thanks to him. Thank you, Potato John, right? And the OSR discovered Taylor Lane, because most of them didn't know Taylor Lane back then. You know, I talked a little bit. I was trying to help promote Taylor a bit, and Dolly. I did that video on Dolly's channel on gender with Dolly and Taylor, and in great part to try to, promote them, because they're both very interesting people in the OSR, and I wanted the OSR to know more about them. Now, suddenly, there's like 100 some people that have bought. I don't know how many. Is it 100, 200? I don't know. The bundle was $6 a pop, and it raised like more than $400. So you figure that out, how many people that is. I guess it's I don't know, but it's a large number of backers who have bought their product. They're going to talk about those products. They're going to tell other people about those products, right? The OSR is going to find out about the type of stuff Taylor makes, right? And people who didn't know who Taylor was will immediately be sympathetic to Taylor because of their being attacked by Potato John and the entire SJW cohort of the wokest regime, right? So this means that people will now suddenly be paying attention to what Taylor does next. So this is the next step of what you should do if you ever get canceled, is capitalize, right? If you've first assessed just how important the danger is, then you've reacted appropriately, which is, again, usually with mockery. If they say something that is outrageously libelous, slanderous, or whatever you want to call it, then you might have to make a response, think through it carefully. And then after that, you bring attention to the rest of the OSR so that and get the OSR to rally behind you. And you use it as advertising, right? You're advertising yourself. You're advertising the unity of the OSR, right? And then the next thing is you have to, well, you don't have to, but it can help, is take advantage of all that fame that you have just been generated for among people that support you, and get the best revenge against these people is make more product, right? If you're a video guy, make more videos. If you're just a regular person who comments on social media, make more comments on social media. Whatever they're mad at you about, make more of that, right? And then sell it to people if you can, right? If you can't sell it, if you don't want to sell it, you can share it. You can give it away for free. It doesn't matter, right? The important thing is that in this way, everything they do actually makes us stronger, right? They're the smaller number. We know that. We know they're the 8% of the population, right? Hardly anyone likes SJW ideology. So the wokists are kind of digging their own grave every time they do this, and it's more and more noticeable. Like the risks even 2 years ago of being brigaded by SJWs was much more. It was much more of a fight and an ordeal than it is now, right? Now it's a it's a fucking laughing, This was like almost a party, Like I got together with all my friends and we were doing commentary videos. Check out Legion of Myth's 6-hour long epic live stream where he takes apart, and I'm there from 1:06, so for like 1 hour and 6 minutes all the way to the end. After that, I get there 1 hour late. But for 5 hours, I was there with these other guys, with Dolly Pip, and we were picking apart every little detail and just mocking the shit out of Potato John, So this is fun, right? We were having fun while they were steaming about how horrible we are and how did that not work, right? How does it work that Taylor Lane is getting even more followers now? That was not the goal. Our goal was for them to turn on Taylor, or to get Taylor to turn on them, and it didn't work. Now they're more unified than ever, like spoiled again. These guys, Potato John. And that's not, well, that's the best thing. He will now forever be Potato John Battle. So anyway, that's basically what has been going on here, and how you should react. Take this as an example. In the case that you face something similar, right? And make use of the solidarity of the OSR, and I mean that not in the commie sense, but in the sense of the Polish dock workers, standing up to the commies, right? Is that when you called together with your friends for mutual defense and support, then suddenly these guys lose all of their fight. For a long time, there was hardly any of us who would dare to stand up to them, right? Me, Grim Jim, Jim Raggy, hardly anyone else, But these last few years, more and more people, and now there's the OSR, the Inglorious OSR is a legion, right? Not just Legion of Myth, but a legion in general, There's so many people, there's so many new channels, and it's fucking fantastic, And this, unlike them, with that, zero-sum game mentality, with that pecking order of mediocrity that they are, for me, someone who's pretty much at the top of the Inglorious OSR, or near it anyway, at the top tier, let's call it, that doesn't scare me at all, that there's like more people doing commentary videos like my channel. If I find one I like, I'm going to tell you about it, like I did with Dolly Pop, like I would with Aaron and with Legion of Myth, And if they make good product, I'm going to share that product, because when I share that product, I'm bringing attention to them and to myself and to the OSR. We just keep winning as we keep building up that momentum collectively, but by uplifting our fellow creators rather than creating this kind of strictly controlled narrative, this is what a grassroots movement looks like, and it's great. So I guess that's everything for today. Speaking of which, though, if you like this video, please subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, hit that notification bell. I'm sending more often a lot of posts, and I just realized that a lot of people who have not hit the notification bell, who are not getting notifications, will often miss posts, which were like, when I was promoting these other shows that I show up on as a guest, or Taylor Lane's RPG bundle. So stuff will be relevant and useful to you. It's not nonsense. It's not even pictures of my cat. I'm sure you'd like pictures of my cats on there. But so posts and stuff like that. So hit that notification bell if you don't want to miss anything. Okay, including stuff that isn't exactly video, that isn't like a 20-minute long video, but might just be a post that leads you to something else that you might want to look at. Right. And share this video anywhere you think people will be interested in it, or people will be pissed off by it. I sure hope a lot of people get pissed off by it. And if you like the sort of thing I do, I mean, you can toss money at me, by PayPal or join the Patreon that I never give any special benefits to, but it's just there for people who have bought everything of mine or don't want to buy anything of mine, and but still want to give me money to support the cause. That's great. But if you do like RPGs and RPG products and you haven't bought all my stuff yet, check out all of my books, stuff like the Old School Companion, and now the Old School Companion 2, which I still don't have here, but the Old School Companion 2 has come out. It's selling really well. 320 pages, 26 different adventures that you can use in any OSR game or a D&D based game. So check that out, because it's really good. Medieval authentic adventure. The Invisible College, 432 pages. Occult, modern conspiracy, magic role-playing. Dark Albion, Cults of Chaos is another good one. The generator system to create medieval authentic groups of cultists, heretics, witches, demonologists, and all other kinds of evil groups. World of the Last Sun, my gonzo weird fantasy world, and many, many more, including my RPGPundit Presents series, which are 106 books that are all just, between $1 and $4.99. So check all that out and give me some help with that, and that way it encourages me to keep making more product and to keep going forward. Stay tuned for more on that, by the way, but we'll see. We'll see when. Currently smoking. This is a Stanwell Deluxe plus Argento Natural. Thank you very much.